special edition of the All NBA show where we are going to look at the lines on DraftKings Sportsbook and try to predict the series winner for every single round. To do that, I brought in a man who knows gambling from Rum Pure Sports, in fact, a co-founder and a super gambler. It is Big T, a.k.a. Tony Niehaus. Tony, what's happening, brother?
Always love coming on with my main man, Mares, who's absolutely crushing out there on the podcast with Legler. I seen you on with like 9 other podcasts today talking Denver Nuggets, going to round 2. And I love it because we've known each other a long time. And I love to see you crush because I still remember you coming over my house during March Madness about, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And you were writing articles during March Madness when the Nuggets weren't that good.
Yeah.
And you were still just as loyal. And I remember making fun of you, honestly. Like, what are you doing that for? Now it all comes full circle. You're covering the best team in the league, the best player maybe ever. And I love it. There's nothing I love more than seeing you crush. So I couldn't be happier to watch.
Yeah, you know the grind, Tony. Come on, you're grinding all the time too. And honestly, man, this is how I knew I wasn't a pro gambler, so I just hit you up for advice because you are always in the weeds looking at not just the lines, then the halftime lines and making these crazy bets. So I thought I would bring you on instead of legs and have you talk about how you see these series going. And of course, we're using DraftKings Sportsbook for all of our odds. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use promo code ALLNBA. You see it right there on the screen. Let's get right into it, though. We got a couple series here. Denver, Minnesota, to me, is the series of the entire playoffs. It feels to me maybe a little bit like a hot take to say that I think the winner of this one wins the finals, or at least wins the Western Conference. We'll see what happens with Boston coming out of the East. But this series is going to be great to me. Real quick off the top, how do you see this series going, and what do you think the key matchup is?
So I see it a little bit like last year, honestly, where Denver came in, Minnesota played them tougher than the 4-1 finish. They played them tough. Was Cat out of that series too? I can't remember.
No, he played. Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels were the ones that were out.
I remembered they were a little shorthanded. And Minnesota's way better this year. They've had another year in the system. They're a defensive team, though, and I think Denver played their toughest matchup in round 1. Not many people agree with me. I thought the Lakers, over the last 2 years even, just AD matches up great with Jokic, obviously. Mm-hmm. You got LeBron, who me and you have liked LeBron forever as a player, and I could argue he's playing better than ever right now just because – not like, don't get me wrong, he can't do it for the same time, but it's easy for him. Like, yeah, he just knows how to get to the bucket. I mean, he was awesome in that series, and we still just disposed of him being the Nuggets. I think this series is actually going to be easier than other people do. I just don't think Minnesota can score. I love Minnesota on defense, don't get me wrong, and the Jamal injury, if Jamal's calf ends up being worse than it is, then obviously it's a totally different ballgame because – we don't have much of a bench anymore with the Nuggets. I don't like Reggie Jackson much. But Jamal's a gamer, just like we saw in that last game. He's going to rise up. I think they're going to have troubles with us. And Cat's going to be the key, honestly.
I agree.
I think he's going to get exposed. I think he's soft. I don't trust him in the playoffs. He's a Kentucky guy, so I hate saying this. But I just don't think he's very good, and I think we're going to expose it. I think Jokic always beats up on Gobert. I love Anthony Edwards as much as anyone. He's amazing. He's the next face. He's the closest thing to Jordan we've seen where even in the press conference, he's basically calling out Cat right to his face, telling him to stop being a dummy.
But with charisma.
Cat, just take it. Just so much charisma. I mean, he's talking trash to KD. I love that. I just worry. I mean, Conley's their point guard who's a veteran, obviously, solid, but nowhere near Jamal Murray. And I just think we're too good. Our 5 starters from the Nuggets are just way better than their 5. I think Minnesota's going to have to score to win this series, and I don't think they can. I don't think McDaniel's awesome on defense, not awesome on offense. I think KCP and Aaron Gordon can hang with Ant enough. I think it's a mismatch. I think we win 4-1.
So Vegas agrees with you, or DraftKings agrees with you, because they have this line at minus 205, which I thought was very surprising given that these two teams were basically the exact same record, had kind of the same years. And yet Denver comes in as such an overwhelming favorite. You can get Minnesota at plus 170. Do you think, I mean, obviously you think Denver's going to win, but did that line surprise you at all? A lot of people are saying this is like, a super good matchup, but that line doesn't necessarily reflect that.
I think everyone just puts too much into the first series of everything, and people overvalued Phoenix a lot, and me included. To be fair, I picked Phoenix over Minnesota. I thought they would win. They got totally embarrassed, totally crushed. They just looked bad, though. I mean, Bradley Beal looked terrible.
He
I
did.
feel they had no point guard. We got Jamal. The issue for these teams is going to be until the finals, where Boston has a lot going for them too. When it gets to crunch time and it's a close game, I mean, it's tough to be better than the Nuggets have been the last couple years. Everything runs through Yoke and Jamal, and that's just the nails, man. Just and on the other side, yeah, Ant is going to be amazing, and he is clutch, and I do think he's the next coming of a lot of a superstar. But I mean, we're going to run bodies at Ant. We're not going to let Ant beat us. Someone else is going to have to step up, and I just don't think it's going to happen. So I think it's a clear mismatch. And the nice part is, on DraftKings for stuff like this, I think the public's heavy on Minnesota, like
Yeah.
heavy, heavy, because of how good they were in the regular season. Ants getting a lot of buzz. They swept Phoenix. I think the sharp side is so clearly Denver, and I think 200 is too low. We got home court.
Wow.
I think it's 4-1. I think we go 2-0, we win one in mini, and we close it out in game 5.
Well, so if DraftKings also has how many games a series is going to go, and if you look at it, 4 games is plus 475. I would be surprised if there's a sweep either direction. These
Yeah,
teams know each other too well. They
agreed.
both do what they do at such a high level. But 5 games is plus 265. That's the second best odds you can get. 6 games is plus 220. 7 games is plus 210. So you love this. 5 games to me feels so short for a team that I feel are 2 teams that I feel are this close. So do you like that value, a plus 265 for 5 games?
So the nice thing for DraftKings, like you said, this is what I'm doing every day. I'm looking through here, Run Pure Sports. We're doing the fantasy, the betting. I wouldn't bet 5. I would just bet Nuggets 4-1, which is plus 360. It's actually the only bet I have right now on DraftKings for this series. Plus 360 though, 4-1, and if it doesn't go that, I mean, I don't like to bet 2 of them personally, but I
Yeah.
would go 7 because I don't see the Nuggets winning game 6 on the road personally. But I just like betting 1. I mean, you're plus 360. I just think they do. I think they close it out and win in 5.
What I love about this, you always have like Legs and I pretty measured, pretty mellow. We play it in the middle. You put your money where your mouth is, and yet are always so much more confident in the perspectives. That's what I love about this one. So I could see the series going either way. I think Denver has the advantage. But Big T is putting money down on Denver to get this thing done, and he thinks it'll be in 5. I love that. Let's go to the other series that we already have lines on, which is the Knicks and the Pacers. DraftKings has the Knicks as minus 245 favorites. Pacers are at plus 200. This line almost surprises me as well, in that it's so close to the previous one. Because to me, the Knicks look like the better team, especially the better playoff team. But am I just over indexing on an unimpressive first round from the Pacers, just the same way you were talking about how people are over indexing on Minnesota's good first round?
Yeah, I do think a lot of people are on the Pacers here just because they looked flashy. The way they play is it's just fun to watch. And the Knicks are like a team of tryharders. All the Villanova guys. I mean, they're just a
McBride,
solid
who I
best.
love.
I love Deuce McBride too, and he's been awesome. And the good thing about Thibs is he just plays these guys. I mean, Dante played 48 minutes last night. Brunson's always playing mid 40s. Hart's always playing basically every minute. I like and the same thing with Denver. I don't want to go back to Denver, but you don't need a bench as much in the playoffs. Just
Right.
play your good guys the whole freaking game and go with it. There's always a day off. You don't have back to backs. So for Indiana, I just think they're more flash. I didn't really buy into what they were doing. To me, it was more Milwaukee than Indiana. I mean, the one game when Portis got kicked out, Indiana was still struggling with them for a while. Without Giannis, without
Yeah.
Dame, Portis is kicked out, and they were still struggling at home. I know yesterday they looked great and put them away. I hate to not pick a dog either one of the first two, but I'm on the Knicks. I just They play so solid. They've been awesome. Brunson's an alpha, even though I think he's a little capped in how far he can go. I think he's an alpha, and I think even and Halliburton's a little banged up too with the back spasms and different things. I'm on the Knicks, even though it's boring. Although I do think it's going to be a good series. I could see it even going 7 here, where I think there's going to be a lot of swings in this series, almost like the Philly series in a way, because I crushed on Indy a little bit for how it went. But the Knicks were dealing with a Philly team that was banged up too. I'm not a big Embiid fan at all, but he was banged up. I mean, he wasn't healthy, dragging his leg around, flopping all over the court with his MVP trophy. Glad they went home, but don't overvalue either first-round series. I think this is the first test from either side.
Tony doesn't hide his takes, man. He just lets them out. I love him. All right, so this series then, what about, is it a long one? 7 games plus 220, 6 games plus 220, 5 games plus 260, and 4 games plus 450. Is this a long or a short series?
I like it long, but it goes back to what you said on the last game, where I just don't think there's much value in that bet. Like if I was going to do it, I would do 6 or 7, both plus 220, but you can't bet them both, because then all of a sudden if they win in 4 or 5, you get smoked. If I was going to bet it, like if you made me pick one, I would pick 7 in the plus 220, but I don't love the value in that. And one thing people need to know when you're betting on sites like DraftKings, you don't always need the big plus number. Just get a win. Book a win. Get the side that wins. It's boring betting the plus 100s or the plus 150s, the minus 120s, but it keeps you going more. And 99% of people watching this and bettors are doing it for fun. Not everyone's doing it for a living like I do and we do. But just, you know what's fun? Winning and keeping your money to where you don't have to deposit. That's what's fun.
Yeah. Let's go to the other series real quick. You've got Boston and then one of Cleveland, Orlando. We're recording this on Friday afternoon right now, so we don't actually know who's winning that one. But either way, Boston has been by far the better team throughout the whole year. What do you see in that series?
Yeah, I mean, Boston, first of all, I'm not a big Boston fan. I don't like how they play when they rely so much on the 3, which I like shooting threes, as you know, but when they go cold, I mean, they lost to the Heat without Jimmy. The Heat beat them last year in the series. I don't love them, but man, they're too, even without Porzingis, they're going to be too much for Cleveland, or if Orlando wins, obviously them too. So it's going to be boring, but I got Boston now. I also think Boston's not winning the title though. Whenever it comes through, I am not a fan of Boston at all. They're just super lucky. Like even say the Lakers were in the East, I would have taken the Lakers over them for sure. I would have taken. I think I legitimately would have. Well, I wouldn't have taken New Orleans without Zion. But if Zion was in, all the West over. I don't like Boston at all. That's my hot take.
So you like them in the series because, I mean, Cleveland, Orlando for a 4 seed is pretty below average, I would say, for a 4-5. And I love Orlando, by the way. I'm a huge fan of that Magic team, but they're early in the process. They got some pieces to add. But so when do they get challenged? Do you think, a Knicks, we think the Knicks are coming out of that side. Do you think a Knicks team could beat them?
I just don't see it. I mean, the Knicks are a bunch of tryharders. So I just talked about like value in betting and stuff. Like right now, you can get the Celtics minus 235 to win the East. I just don't see how they're not winning the East. Yeah. I mean, it's a boring bet, but I just think it's one you got to go to. I like the Knicks. I think they win. I think they can play Boston tough. But are Boston really going to lose to a team like the Knicks that just tries hard and just goes for it? And the Heat have had success against them because of Spo. I mean, Spo's one of the best coaches ever. He schemes great. The way he teaches basketball is perfect to beat Boston. Unfortunately, I got Boston to win the East, even though I don't. Whoever wins the West, I will definitely be on over Boston, though.
Well, there you go. Let's go back over to the West and look at that 1-4 matchup, and that's going to be OKC and the winner of the Clippers, Dallas. Again, we're recording this Friday
afternoon. You can just say Dallas now. Go with it.
Well, we'll just say Dallas. Then I agree with you. I think it'll be Dallas, but I'll cover myself here. But OKC, that they kind of got a bye in round 1, in my opinion. And I don't want to take anything away from them, but the Pelicans shorthanded. They clearly were not a big test, but I think that this one is going to be an enormous test. How do you see this series going?
Exactly what you just said is how I feel. I thought they got really lucky. And I'll be honest, like I thought the Pelicans would play better against them, even without Zion. CJ McCollum was terrible. Ingram was terrible. It was embarrassing how bad they were in that series. So I don't put that much into it, kind of like you with it. I do really like Dallas in this spot, though. And you're going to get it in an underdog price or close to it, I think. Don't be surprised if Dallas comes out close to a favorite in this series. Like, they got Luka, they got Kyrie, who Kyrie's a stone cold killer in the playoffs.
Are you back on Kyrie now? You're back?
First of all, I've never been off him as a player.
We lost you for a second. For a second.
He lost his mind for a few years in there where I don't know what he was going. As far as just getting me a bucket, though, I still don't know if I would take anyone over him at the end of a game. Like, the shots he makes and how he's just not scared of anything. I mean, he's amazing. I'm a Kyrie fan. I got Dallas over OKC for sure, though. If the Clippers somehow beat Dallas, I'll have them too over OKC. I don't like OKC, but it's like you said. I think SGA. Well, you were talking about a different team, but you were talking about Orlando. It's how I feel about OKC, though, where they're going to be great. They got a better future than anybody, but it's not this year. You got to have some growing pains in the playoffs. I do not see them. Whatever that price is going to be too low if it's Dallas. Dallas is going to win.
Who goes off in that series? Dallas, OKC.
It's the boring answer, but Luka and Kyrie. I mean, you just need. I like PJ Washington too. That trade was a very good trade for them. He's great on defense. He can stretch the court a little bit on the three. I think it's the obvious. And the part about Dallas, they play a lot of role guys too. Maybe one of them has a game here and there. Even like just some of those role guys off the bench, like Kleba, hit some threes in one game. But Luka.
Okay. All right. Well, those are your picks here. So before we get you out of here, you like Denver, you like the Knicks, you like Boston, and you like Dallas. Of those four teams, if it goes the way you think, who do you think is winning it all based on what you've seen so far?
I feel very confident that it's Denver, Boston, which they're the two favorites. So I'm not exactly like being exciting here. I know. And usually I do, though. You know me. Most years I do pick surprises. I just don't see it. I don't see Denver losing. The Lakers were the team I was most worried about coming into the playoffs. Wow. Just those matchups. No one scares me with Jokic more. Even though he's crushed AD, AD scares me, man. AD's good. And I don't see that from the thing that Gobert and these guys, they're great on D, but they don't make Jokic work on the other side of the ball like AD does. Yeah. I just feel like, and I think the Nuggets are going to get more and more dialed in as the playoffs go. My only worry at all is obviously Jamal. He's got to stay healthy. If he somehow can't play, everything's different. And honestly, I'd probably pick Dallas if something happened to him.
I was at Nuggets practice today, and the team really did not seem concerned with Jamal's health, which is always a good thing. And I'm not saying that just what was said on record, even just talking to guys, oh, no, he's good. He's good to go. These days off have been great for him. So we'll see. I think we'll know very quickly how healthy Jamal looks in game one. But if that's the case, Tone's filling Denver. He is Tony Niehaus, a.k.a. Big T. You can find him over at Run Pure Sports. He has hot takes, man. He comes in hot every single time. But you know what? Puts his money where his mouth is. So I always know to listen to him. Tony, any last thoughts?
No, love coming on and keep crushing. Hopefully get you back in the finals doing some podcasts with Legs, some shows with Legs and whoever else. Because the more opportunity, we need to get Pat Bev too. Get on that Pat chucking off the fans and stuff yesterday.
Pat Bev might be out the league, man. We might have seen the last of Pat Bev.
That was a rough look from him yesterday. And the worst part is he's been climbing the popularity the last year or two. He totally just ruined it in one night. That was not good. But keep crushing and love coming on here. Maybe we'll do it again before the finals at some point.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to use that promo code ALLNBA whenever you download DraftKings app. Those are all lines from DraftKings. We'll see you guys.